Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Francois?
I'm good. This live thing is like, it feels like you have you have to do 10 things at the same time.
Oh yeah, for sure. We don't have anybody doing it for us, so we got to do it ourselves. But hey, it'll be fun, right? It's not going to be perfect, but we are going to get things going here. This is Coffee Hour with Clear to Send, and we're actually recording this episode, so it'll also be played back via audio. For those of you joining us live, thank you for joining us here today. Jiri, thank you for joining us from the UK, all the way from the UK. Awesome.
Nice.
That's great. So I hope you do have your coffee. Just got a fresh cup.
Yeah, I do have my coffee right here. And it's a little too hot because I just made it right on time for the live, right? So yeah. I'm going to wait a little bit before I can drink it.
Yeah, so the way that we ran this live today is we did we prepared last minute. So
we just prepared.
Literally 5 minutes before going live, we ended our prep, trying to make sure this thing will work, and hopefully it will. I think it'll go through fine. But Francois, this was your idea, so why don't you go and describe what exactly we're going to do today?
Yeah, so I actually got the idea when you did your live on WLAN Pi, and I thought it would be cool if we can do a follow-up little lab and demonstration, with having the both of us on the line. So what I wanted to do is test the remote sensor capability of the WLAN Pi for Wi-Fi Explorer. It also works with Wi-Fi on Windows, or WinFi. Yep. On Windows, so you can do the same. Actually, this week, Nigel Bowden, Wi-Fi Nigel, released a YouTube video where he goes over 10 features or 10 easy things you could do with the WLAN Pi just as is. And it's that was part of his video as well. But here, what I wanted to do is make it a little fun. So we set up a VPN connection between your house and my house. I have a WLAN Pi here. I'll show you guys in a bit in my house. And then we're going to have you do some troubleshooting remotely, I guess.
Yeah, we'll try to connect. And I did set up a VPN connection, so I have that going. It's a split VPN tunnel. And what we're going to try to do here is see if I can connect to your WLAN Pi as a remote sensor.
Yeah, and see if you can discover my neighbor's Wi-Fi networks.
So why don't do you want to just dive into this and see how it works?
Yeah.
I got my windows open here, so let's see if I can share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see that we've got Wi-Fi Explorer here, and you can see some of my SSIDs. So the way I'm going to try to show this is I've got an Ingenious AP. It's running AX with CTS tests there. You can tell that these are my neighbors. We've got a country code of US here. I don't know what XR is, but that's showing up. And once I connect to this WLAN Pi as a remote sensor, I should be able to see other different networks. Like these should disappear here, and we should see whatever networks are around Francois, and also see that the country code is set to Canada, assuming that these devices are configured properly, right?
I guess we'll see.
Do
you want to zoom in a little bit on your networks?
Yeah. So
if you do Control Plus, yeah.
Will it zoom in? Oh, it does zoom in. I didn't even know that feature.
Yeah.
Learn something new all the time with Wi-Fi Explorer. And we'll link out in the description to Wi-Fi Explorer. If you don't have it already, you should. There's Wi-Fi Explorer Lite. I'm using the professional version, and I think you need the professional version in order to do some of these advanced capabilities. Because in the previous coffee hour, we showed spectrum analysis, and you do need the pro version for that. But here we're going to do just some remote scanning. So here you can see this is my network. This is what this test network that I have set up here is an Ingenious AX AP and it's been running pretty well. So you can see here, the country code is US. This is the channel it's currently on, and we should be able to see this disappear, right? Once we connect to your WLAN Pi.
So do you want me to show my setup on my end?
Yeah. So you ready to, I'll transfer the video over to you.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Can you guys see?
Yeah, that looks good. I see your cables.
Okay, so this is my setup here. I'll actually put the iPad down so it doesn't shake all across.
Right,
so I have my WLAN Pi here, right? And I have the NIC connected to WLAN Pi, and then you're pretty much gonna connect through the network, right, to the VPN, and retrieve the information that this specific NIC will gather, right?
Yeah.
And I have my phone here. I just started the mobile hotspot. As you can see, I'm gonna put it close to the WLAN Pi so you can see it very strong. And now if I show you the WLAN Pi, so I'm actually SSH into WLAN Pi here. I'm going to stop this.
What's the SSID of your phone, your hotspot?
I'll let you find out. Might be something French. I don't know. We'll see. So here I'm SSH into my WLAN Pi, and then if you just want to make sure the service is running, you can run this command, sudo service WiFi Explorer -sensor status, and you'll need the password, right? And then here it's telling me that everything is active. In my case, because I mess a lot with my WLAN Pi, we did have to re-enable the service, but it should be enabled by default if you just use the basic image of your WLAN Pi. Okay. All right, so back to you, Roel. Let's see what happens.
All right. So to configure the remote sensor, you actually have to go right up here to this drop down. It currently says active for me. And we'll click on that drop down, select manage remote sensors. And again, I'm in Wi-Fi Explorer. And so I have no remote sensors currently. What I want to do is show that I can connect to or have connectivity to your sensor. So I guess you're going to have to remind me, Francois, is it 192.168.20.28?
Yes.
All right. So hopefully you guys can see that. Whoa. Wait, am I on the VPN?
That's sure. I'm sure.
All right, we should check that out first, right? We're gonna need that connectivity to your. Yeah, no, I'm not on there. That's gonna be a problem. So let me connect. And that's connecting. So a good thing I checked, right? So I wanted to be able to make sure I have connectivity to your WLAN Pi over the VPN. So we'll run it again. Yeah. Hopefully it'll work. Let's see if this finishes. This connection, it's still connecting.
Murphy is
the VPN hasn't finished yet. All right, so we should probably just sip some coffee while this continues. Oh, can't connect to VPN, so I need a troubleshoot for some reason.
The VPN connection.
Yeah, so let's try to do that. So why don't we talk about a little bit more how this works, Francois, while I try to get this working.
Yeah, so they worked on some sort of sensor that will gather, the information, pretty much do a passive scan of the environment using leveraging the WLAN Pi. And I get it's not really hard to do it using the WLAN Pi because it's a Linux-based system. So you can do if you have the proper NIC. That's something I didn't mention, but you have the proper NIC with the proper driver connected to your WLAN Pi. On Linux, you already have the tools that allows you to do a passive scan. And then all we're doing is redirecting that data back to Wi-Fi Explorer.
All right, so I was able to get that VPN connection working again, and you could see now the pings are going. You can see the latency there, definitely going across America here to Francois' house. And so now we'll go back here to Wi-Fi Explorer, manage remote sensors. I'm in the sensors section. I will click on the plus button on the bottom left, and you can see in the remote sensors window, I do not have anything there at the moment. So I'll hit the plus, and it's going to ask me enter the address of the remote sensor. So I will type in 192.168.20.28, click on add. It doesn't have a name, so I'll give it a name. I'll just call it Francois WLAN Pi. So hopefully this works. All right, we'll cross our fingers. So I'll close that window, back at the main Wi-Fi Explorer window, and instead of doing an active scan, I will click on that drop down and then select under remote sensors, Francois WLAN Pi. So cannot connect. We'll try it again.
Let me see.
I think we have an unstable connection going on now.
Oh, maybe. If you try it again, what happens? Try to close
Wi-Fi Explorer?
Wi-Fi Explorer, yeah.
All right. So
I just relaunched the service on my end.
Okay.
But it was already running.
I can still ping it, and let us know in the chat if you guys can still see the video of us. And let's see here if I can relaunch Wi-Fi Explorer. Because I can still ping your WLAN Pi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not making that connection, even though I could ping it.
All right. So
you wanna try rebooting it to see if
sure, I can do that.
These are the kind of things we got to troubleshoot on the fly.
It's yeah, and it's fun when it works when you prep, and then it doesn't work when you do the live.
I know, right? So before we went live, we actually tested this out because I did not have anything configured beforehand. Maybe I'll give it a different name. I don't know, but we'll try it out. And we tried to do this before today. I think we tried doing this on our first coffee break before, and then we scrapped it because we had the same problem where I couldn't connect to your WLAN Pi. But as I started playing more with the WLAN Pi, I start seeing a lot of the advantages to it. And so I do have one connected here, although we don't want to use mine, and I don't have it set up. But looking at its capabilities, I did manage to upgrade the image to it, and from there started using more of the features to be able to see, speed tests. So the speed test was my favorite one. I was testing out an AP at an 80 megahertz channel width and was getting about 700 megs download and upload to an AP, which looks great, but I was the only one on that AP.
So I guess what we can do is I can try it locally on my laptop.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want me to show your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we'll test it locally first.
So I think it will work because it's actually trying it right now by default. I tried it earlier. So as you can see now, it's spinning and I have my name. And here it's getting the data from the WLAN Pi. Okay. So it's working here. I'm going to stop it, close it. No, I don't want to save. Well, if you want to try it on your end now.
Sure.
One last try.
Still ping it. So let me go here. It's there. I have to hit play.
Yeah.
I have to hit this play button. My clicking is out of control.
Yes, I think it works.
We just got to wait. We didn't get a message about it not being able to connect. It's spinning. You see that little spinner there? All right.
Yes.
Oh, that's a success. All right. So now I can see Senfio Networks. Obviously, that's Francois' company. I could see Allez les Bleus. Is that correct?
Yeah, Allez les Bleus. Yeah.
And I can see also that it is at a negative 20 dBm. That's pretty strong. I see one at negative 1 dBm and a negative 2 dBm. So we got some pretty strong signals there. And you can see country code of CA, which is Canada, not California. That's the country code. And we do have something on US.
Yeah. If you go down, you have this.
You got a Netgear here, probably your neighbor's network at negative 80 dBm. So now I'm doing some remote troubleshooting. Maybe someone's, maybe that could be a problem, right? Like someone can't connect to this clear to send Wi-Fi network and it's just not working right. And so now I'm scanning it. I can see the BSSID and all the other information elements contained in the beacon, looking at that AP. So that's actually very useful if you're able to just send somebody a WLAN Pi and have it connect to the network. You've got your VPN connection there.
And if you coupling this to the demo we did last time, right?
Yeah.
And if you have one of these guys, the silver one, you actually have two USB connections. So on one USB connection, you could be connecting your Wi-Fi NIC. On the other one, you could be connecting your spectrum analyzer, and then you could be sending both data back to Wi-Fi Explorer remotely.
Yeah, and then on the spectrum view, you could see spectrum pop up if you have the Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, but here's the visualization of the networks in your area, Francois. So I see nothing on DFS. So looks good. So we were able to successfully, after a couple of troubleshooting steps. So what do we have to do there, Francois? You did something on your end to make this work.
I just rebooted the WLAN Pi. That worked.
Reboot for the win.
Reboot for the win.
Yeah, I should have asked you, did you reboot your WLAN Pi? That's a typical troubleshooting step, right?
Yeah. Doesn't work, reboot.
All right, so we can see everything here. 20 megahertz channel widths, what protocols you're running. This is great. Lots of Wi-Fi 6 right now over there.
It looks like you're seeing the signal with a pretty strong signal strength, or
it's a ridiculously strong signal.
Maybe my NIC is not the best. we could try with another NIC.
Yeah, we could try different ones, but yeah, if you guys like this functionality or you see some usefulness out of it, hit it. Give us a like on that, and if you think that would be something you would use out in the real world, because this is something I could use. It's very inexpensive to just send the WLAN Pi somewhere and keep that in the office, right? You could maybe have a fleet of these things at different locations, maybe even at my parents' house, for example.
Yeah, and something else that I originally wanted to share, on this live today was the ability to do a remote packet capture. So if you have Wireshark on your laptop, you could actually do a packet capture, a Wi-Fi packet capture from the WLAN Pi, and redirect those packets to your own Wireshark via the network. Okay. So that's something else you could do on top of doing the Wi-Fi scanning and the spectrum analysis. You can also do packet capture remotely if you have the WLAN Pi.
Yeah, there you go. So you don't have to send an expensive access point with those capabilities. You could use the WLAN Pi, and for us, with whatever tools we can get our hand on, that's going to be an advantage to us, especially at the cost factor of some of these things. And the WLAN Pi is definitely affordable.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Maybe one day we'll showcase the packet capture. That would be nice. Do you want to move on to the second thing we wanted to show you guys?
Yeah, let's move on to the second thing. I'm going to stop this Wi-Fi Explorer, and then so that way not so many things are running in the background. One thing I do want to show, you probably don't have to use a WLAN Pi if you've got maybe a Linux device, or maybe turn your Mac into a sensor. Adrian Granados has this in his GitHub Wi-Fi Explorer sensor. I haven't tried it out. I just saw it today, but he has this Python script which you could run. It tells you what to do, and then you run it. And I guess you could use a device with Wi-Fi capabilities as a remote sensor as well. I haven't tried it out. I'll try it out when I get the chance, but this looks pretty interesting as well. So you could be running this on somebody's computer, possibly like a MacBook Pro or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So you can install it on, I think, any Unix base that has proper cards, with proper drivers.
All right. So let's get to the meat of this thing, Francois. What are we going to be working on here?
So I've been working on a script that allows you to configure a missed access point for an AP on a stick survey. And I wanted to leverage the Mist API, right? So maybe I can show you a little bit of the code.
Sure.
Right, and then after that, the idea will have we will have you, execute the script and configure your own AP, and we'll see how long it takes.
All right.
So why did I have the idea of you doing this script is because I've done site survey for, with Cisco APs, Aruba APs, the drill. You have to convert the AP into some sort of autonomous mode, and it's not always easy. And sometimes you just do it the night before, and you end up going to bed really late because something wrong happened. Here, I wanted to find a way to do it really fast using the Mist APIs. I was just thinking maybe we can do that faster. So if I show you the code here, what the script will do. Well, if you want to share my screen, yeah, perfect. So what the script will do here, first, it will create a site. So the way Mist works is you have organizations, and then within the organization, you have different sites. So organization could be your business, and then sites could be the different, sites or offices you would have under your business. So here I'm just creating a site just for the AP on the stick work. And this allows me to save the configurations on the AP. Right, so that's one thing you have to do on the Mist APs if you want to use it for an AP on the stick, is you have to make the configuration persistent on the AP. So even if you unplug the AP and the AP doesn't have connectivity back to the cloud, you can still use the AP. Okay, so here I'm just creating a site. If the site already exists, I'm just reusing the site. But if it's not there, I create it, and then I make sure that the configurations is saved locally on the AP. Then what I do is I create a 2.4 SSID, right? I create a 5 gig SSID, and then I check if the AP has been claimed. If the AP is just out of the box, it will just claim the AP within your organization, and then it will provision the AP, so it will assign the AP to the new site. That's what you see here. And then the last step is to configure the radios of the AP. So you'll choose which channels you want to use, which transmit power for both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz radios. Okay, and on the right, what you can see here is the config file. So as a user, that's all you have to mess up with, the config file. You have to configure the name of the sites, the location. You have to configure, the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz SSID, and the different radio settings. And then if you want to claim your AP, you need to configure your claim code and give out the MAC of the AP. You can get this information just on a sticker looking at the AP and the back of the AP. And then to connect to the API, you need your org ID and you need your token. That's pretty much it. Make sense?
Yep. Sounds so easy.
So
how long did it take
do you want to try it out?
Yeah, how long did it take you to do this?
To write the script?
Yeah.
I didn't count my hours. Yeah.
You start tracking your hours. All right. So I'll share my screen because I'm going to run Francois Script. I have a Mist AP here. It's not claimed by any organization right now. It's actually connected to a Juniper switch, which makes sense, right? And it was the same Juniper switch that I was configuring over on when I was doing my live streams. So what we're going to do here is show you my screen so you could see that I have this organization. It is brand new. It's called CTS Demo. I'll show you. I have no access points. There are no access points found here. This is the only site that I have. And if we go to organization, I'll show you site configuration. There it is. Only one primary site with no WLANs connected. All right. So I will show you the GitHub page. We'll also put a link out into the show notes and the description of the video of where you can find this and try it out yourself. And then now let's see, I'll go over to my configuration file, right? So this is the config file that Francois was talking about, his different files. So here is, it's going to be config.example.json, but I have some details in there I don't want to show you guys, which is you have to put in your org ID, your token, and Francois, you've got a video that talks about grabbing that token. And here's where I'm going to define my site. All right. So I'm going to call it, I already pre-populated some of this. So I call it SJ test, or if there's a name you guys want me to use, let me know. I'll type it in there, SJ test. I picked a location. I didn't give it an address. I just said San Jose, California, but I did give it a latitude and longitude. And then here we have I have configured my SSIDs. I'm going to keep the same name that Francois used, but I am going to set the channel and transmit power for both of these. And then at the bottom, there's an AP section where we could type in the MAC address and give it a name and the claim code. All right, so that's what we have here. This is the actual file, and the file is again called config-example.json. It's a JSON file. JSON's really easy to read, so I have everything here. I just hid some of the stuff here. And what I'll do is I will go to my terminal window. I am in the directory of where I want to run this script. You can see here, this is the config file right there. Let me zoom in a bit so it's easier to read. Hopefully you guys can see that. So again, on my organization in Mist, I have nothing there. There's nothing. We are going to run this script, and hopefully it'll configure the site, the WLAN, it'll join the AP, and it's okay that I don't have this VPN connection because we're done with WLAN Pi. And so a little error popped up. I'm glad we had this VPN issue much later. So
yeah.
All right. So what I want to do now is run Python against. We're going to run this script. Right. So,
right before you execute,
yeah.
I should mention that you need the request module installed in order to run the script, because I use the request module to do my API calls. So just make sure you install it first before running the script. If you don't, you'll have an error, or you can create a virtual environment.
You can just run pip 3 install requests, and then that will install it. I could run it in a Python virtual environment, but I already have it installed. So I will just run this script. I'll clear back the scroll back so we can see everything here. Hit enter.
You need the name of the script first.
Yeah, that's right. What was the name of the script again?
Setup. You have to put it first though, before the JSON file.
See, this is why I have you here. Let me do this again. So the files. So I'm going to run Python 3, and then we have to run setup.
Yeah.
AP on a stick.py, which does all that backend configuration, right, Francois?
Yes. And
then we have to tell it what config file to use. So then so the whole command line, I'm doing this Python 3 setup-apos.py, and then another space config-example.json for some of those parameters. So I'll clear this back, and then we'll hit enter. We should get some status messages back. So it's setting up AP on a stick. We can see that it says my test site was created. It's got my site ID there. It created 2 WLANs. It claimed this AP right here that I have next to me. Then it's the survey AP has been assigned to the AP on a stick site. And then it configured the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz radios. And it only took 2.6 seconds to do that. Pretty neat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So now if I go back to my site here, refresh the page. So I'm in the Mist dashboard. We'll refresh this page. We got to remember I'm currently in the primary site. So if I hit this drop down, there is now an SJ test site. So if I click on that, I'm in WLAN currently. I now see 2 survey SSIDs. If I go to organization and then site configuration, again, you can see now instead of just a primary site, there's in addition to that an SJ test site. So now if we go to access points, we now have an access point, and it's currently status connected. we have an IP address. There's no clients connected, but as you can see with the columns, I added these columns here. If you just click on this button next to the refresh, you can customize the columns. And you could see that the 2.4 gigahertz radio is on channel 1, and its transmit power is 3 dBm. And the 5 gigahertz channel is a 40 megahertz channel width on channel 149 at 15 dBm. And those are the parameters that I had set in that JSON file. So if we were to rerun this script, let's say, oh, that's not actually the transmit power that I want to run, then you could go back into this file and go, I don't know.
So why don't you do that, and you can reshare my screen. Now I'm going to show you guys a couple of things while Roel changes his private configuration file. Here, what you can see is in this script, what I ended up doing in order to organize the code a little bit is I created some sort of module, and you can see them at the top here. You can see Mist Site, Mist WLAN, Mist AP, and then I organized the different functions that I created under those modules. So if I go to Mist AP, I have all the different functions related to, I have to scroll to the left here, all the different functions related to, anything I do related to APs. So here I check if an AP is already part of a site, and that's one function here. I check if an AP has already been claimed, I claim an AP, and I organize my function that way. So then I can just go back in the main script, and in the main script, I can just reference, let's say here, I can reference the Mist AP module and then call the function that's in this module is AP inside, and I don't need to have all my code inside my script. I can just divide my code and organize it in different files. And this is why in the main script you only have a main function. It's because I'm referencing all these functions in the other files. So if you want to, if you want to have a deeper look of what I'm doing, you can actually go into those different files. And you'll see all the API request calls, and you'll see pretty much what I'm doing there.
Very nice. Very, very cool. I like that.
Did you end up changing your config?
I didn't run it yet.
Do you want to show us?
Yep. All right. So I made the modifications to the file. Again, if we look at, so you see here on the top, we have the channel and transmit power of the AP. I just changed them, so we should see that channel or 5 gigahertz will now run on channel 36 with a lower transmit power, just as an example. So we'll rerun it. And since I'm rerunning the script and it already contained sites and SSIDs that we already have configured, Francois got it in there where it says it already exists, but it did configure the radios because that's different. So here's the new configuration of the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz radio. I'm not sure how quick it is on the dashboard. Let's see. Hasn't changed yet. But if you guys like Francois Script, hit the like button. I think that's a really useful script for those of us who are going to do AP on a stick with a Mist AP. Very easy to do. And I remember with some APs, when I try to configure them statically, it's kind of a pain to go through the GUI and set that all up and everything.
If you do refresh from the push, yeah.
I'm refreshing the page to see if I can show the change here.
And so here, depending on which channel you select, if you select the DFS channel, it will take a little bit more time for the radio to come online.
There you go.
But here, yeah.
Yeah, so now 5 gigahertz is on channel 36, 40 megahertz channel width. I lowered the 2.4 radio transmit power to 1 dBm and the 5 gigahertz radio to 10 dBm. So pretty easy and simple to do with scripts. Somebody can do this remotely and just push those changes.
Can you see the SSIDs?
Yeah, let's show the SSIDs, right? So let me try to bring up my Wi-Fi Explorer again because I closed it and I don't want it to try to connect. Yep, it's trying to use your remote sensor. All right. Okay. So now we should be able to see the SSIDs. If I do a search for survey, we now have a 2.4, and a 5. I have the AP fairly close. It's just right next to me here, but my laptop is underneath my desk. And so you can still see the signal strength. You can see the BSS color. It's an AXAP, but there it is. Pretty simple to do.
So I guess, if you just want to use it as a user, all you have to modify the config file. So I would just advise you to just copy and paste the config example. Just, create a new file, rename it config.json, and then add your details. So you're going to have to go and retrieve your org ID. Roel, if you want to show my screen, I can show you guys how to get the org ID. Easy way to get your org ID is you go back to your MIST, manage.mist.com, and then you'll get your org ID here at the top. All right, org ID, simple. Boom. You can just copy paste this token. It's a little trickier to get a token. You have to go to API documentation, and then you have to go to API token. You have to copy paste that line. That line, and then paste it right after the api.mist.com /. So you need 2/, and then you can go at the bottom here and click post. I'm not going to do it because it's going to create a new token that you guys could use. But if you press on post, it will show you, give you a new token.
Yeah, and you got to save that, and then you could use that to do all your API, with your scripts. And the way that Francois got it, he's using his API for his organization. I'm using my token for my organization, and that way it's and that's why I didn't want to show. Although I will delete the token that I created just for this demo right afterwards, just in case.
Yeah, and the last gotcha is the MAC address. It has to be this type of format. I have never tried it with the colons or the dashes. I don't know if it works, but working with MIST APIs, that's a format they use. So just use this format if you don't want to have any issue. One thing I didn't try is I didn't try to launch the script before I connected the AP to my network. I want to see if I can launch the script and then connect my AP to the network, and the AP will retrieve all the config. I've never tried it, so maybe that works. I'll test it later, I guess.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we could test. There's a lot of improvements we can do. I mean, Francois, you can even go further and just start creating like a GUI page for even some people to just use a web interface to do that. There's a lot of different capabilities we have here, but that's kind of the gist of it. That showed you how easy it was for me to do it, because I literally looked at Francois Script this morning about an hour before we went live. I went through it, created sites, and I was up and running. I was able to start. I could have just started doing my AP on a stick survey.
Awesome.
So Francois, what do you have going on this week? I know we talked about everything we wanted to talk about. We showed the WLAN Pi as a remote sensor. Finally got that working, although we had some VPN connection issues. And then we were able to play around with your MIST API script, which I think is really great, because you and I both have been working on Python. We try to help boost each other and talk about, okay, what can we do, and show examples. And you've really progressed from even just like 6 months ago with this scripting.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's I feel really, I don't know how to express it, but as an engineer, you feel good when you create something for your own, right? That's something that can be useful. You struggle to make it work, and then when it finally works, you have this good feeling, rewarding feeling of, oh, man, now it works. It does what I want to do. And these projects for me, it's really fun to work on, and I can just spend hours working on them, and until late at night, which is nice. So I keep them for night times. Even if I'm tired, I know I'll be able to work on them. And what I've done after creating this script, I thought it was too complex for just someone to just drill into it and learn APIs, Mist APIs. So what I've done is I've created smaller scripts. I don't know if you can share my screen, and I'll show you guys. And I have this on my GitHub as well. But I created a series of scripts that I called Learn Mist API with mini scripts. And then here, what I did is I pretty much deconstructed the big script in very simple and smaller ones. And for instance, here I have one that will just create a site. So if I open this one, this script, all it does, it creates a site. So it's pretty much one API call.
Yep.
And then I explain, if I go to my config example file, I'll put it on the right here. This is the details about, the site that I have here. And then here the script will just, take that information and then create the site in my organization, right?
Yeah.
And then I did another one that go through, does a site exist? It does another API call. This time it's a get. And then it retrieves all the sites that I have in my organization, and then it checks if this specific one already exists, right? And I'm planning on doing more, right? Pretty much, I'm planning on creating one for each function that I use in this script to just have help people learn the Mist API.
Yeah. I mean, it's helping me learn. Because we're learning by example, right? So we need to look at how other people have done it. I know Mist has a lot of example scripts, and this is all very useful for us to create our own scripts and customize it just to what we want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also helping me to learn. I didn't talk about it, but I think I should talk about that. My script, I had an error in my script.
Yeah.
And this was happening here when I configured the radios. So when you configure the radio, if I click on the Mist AP and I look at the configure radio, what I was doing at the beginning is I was configuring the 2.4 radio, and I was making an API call to configure the 2.4 radios, and then I was doing the same thing for the 5 gigahertz. But the way the API call works here with Mist is that it requires you to configure both radios at the same time. So what was happening at the beginning is I would configure my 2.4 radios, everything would work fine. But when I went back and configured my 5 gigahertz radios, because I didn't specify anything for the 2.4, it reverted back to default RM. Right? So I would run my script and 2.4 would be like,
just
and
picking
it would just go back. Yeah, picking it for me. And I got when I actually recorded the video that I did to explain how to run my script, it didn't work. And then I had Wes Purvis from Mist contacted me, and he's like, "Yeah, did you find out what happened?" And then he helped me troubleshoot. And
Nice.
if you go to, maybe I can show you guys. If you go to the Mist organization audit logs, and if I go back to whenever I did it, hopefully I still have it in here. I have to go back. I think it was on Thursday. And here I can go back and see exactly all the API calls I've made.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How detailed that log is from Mist. And that's just on the Mist dashboard.
Yeah. And so here, so you can see that.
Okay, so you're looking at the details of the log, and it's now giving you like a before and after. That's cool. Yeah.
And you can see the after is empty for 2.4.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So,
it's kind of a hint. Okay.
Yeah. So and here you have it. And here you have the reverse, right?
Yeah,
the 5 gigahertz is empty.
Because you did the 5 gigahertz first, and okay. Got it.
Yeah, so here if I take, for example, this one, 11, 49, 46. So the 45, the first one I do is 2.4, right? And the 5 is empty, so that works well. And then the second one I do right here, let me just take the right one right here. Second one will just, overwrite 2.4 with RM because I have it as empty. So what I had to change in my script is I had to do, what I'm doing now is I'm just configuring both at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
So as you can see here, I'm creating a list in Python that will reference, both radios, and then I send everything at the same time.
You pass the list.
Along my put command. And so if I go back to my logs, maybe I can show you an example that I've done last 7 days. Do you see any updating device? So here now you can see that I'm actually configuring both at the same time.
Very nice.
So now it works.
Cool. So that's like a lot of, as we're doing a lot more Python, we definitely have to do debugging. And so troubleshooting is very much part of this, and testing things and making sure you get things right. So part of it also is going back and learning how lists work, how you could query certain or pull certain elements out of a list or dictionary, those types of things. Like those are the kind of issues I run into as I'm learning Python, because I just have to get used to it, right? And the more you do this type of work, the more you push yourself, the more you will get to this point, which Francois is at, where he's got this nice script to automatically configure an AP for AP on a stick purposes.
Yeah, and so I actually learned a lot from that. And then what I've changed after that is, in my print message, I used to just get the information from my own list. But what I've changed is I'm now getting the information from the response I'm getting from the MIST, API. So, when you send your API call, you get some data back. So I'm actually going into that data and getting the actual, band and channel and transmit power that MIST received and configured for me, right? So I can see if there's a discrepancy between that and my config, pretty much.
Gotcha. Very nice. I really like how your script came out, and it's easy to understand for me. I've been I spent a whole day yesterday looking at Python, and so this makes sense to me, and the way you're doing it. I need to play more with the MIST API.
Yeah, it's actually not that complex. You can do, I think the first script I ever done was just like listing all the APs in my site, in a specific site. Or one thing I can show you is if you go to Postman, there's actually a Postman for
a collection.
A collection, right? That's how you say it. Yeah, a collection for MIST. So let me show it to you. So you can download it. It's actually a French guy that created it. He works for MIST. His name is Thomas Munzer, and he created this collection of 503 requests. But here you can use that to reach. If I want to request, my devices in a site, I can do that. Let me see if I can show you an example. Sites. Organizations, you can get your sites in your organization as well. Anyway,
so that's
it's
a great
cool.
way.
You can use that.
That's a great way to start learning, because you can, if you use these collections, there is a section to on the right side after you send your GET request, you could download the code. And you can pick whatever scripting language you're using. So if you select Python, you can get the exact code to get some of this information. So that's really useful there. So yeah,
let's try that out, because I've never tried that actually. So
it might show your token though if you do it. Because if you click on code, it'll show your token in the code.
Let me go on the other screen.
I'll just show it back to us.
Yes.
That's definitely way better than the script I was working on yesterday. I spent a whole day yesterday trying to use Python to automate something manual. So mine had nothing to do with wireless. Mine was migrating a bunch of devices from one network to a new network. And so I'm talking about 600 plus devices, maybe closer to 900. And my organization, we use an IPAM. So these devices are registered there, but they didn't have the MAC addresses that I would assign IPs to. So I'm going to give each one of these devices its own IP address. And so I took a CSV file that had all the columns that I needed, and I grabbed the host name from a column and its MAC address. And then in my Python script, I had defined a list of networks that I wanted to use. And so I created a for loop that iterated on two lists, one with all the network devices and then one with the network scope, the range. And I would print out CLI statements, command line statements that included the hardware, the MAC address, and then whatever IP address it's going to use. And then I could and also the host name. And then I could just copy and paste all of that in a command line interface to update everything on the IPAM. And that took me about a whole day, but I finally managed to get what I needed. But I do need to clean it up a bit. So I did it quick and it just gave me the output I needed, but I wanted to increase it more with how it was selecting the network, because I have to define like I couldn't go over a specific number of hosts in that network, and then I wanted it to pick an IP address from the next network. So I need to work on that part, but I can actually now migrate all these devices, which would have taken a long time, hours and hours of work, because the other way to do it in our organization was to do a lot of do a lookup of the MAC address and then find it in the IPAM, add the IP MAC address in there and give it an IP. So lots of clicking. And I had a couple of people come up to me and say, "Hey, if you need help, let me know. We can just tackle it together. Just divvy up the devices." And I'm like, "No, I'll create a script and it'll be done like in 2 seconds when I run it."
So how often would you have to do that now?
In this case, just once, but I could see where we could replicate this in other ways. But it's definitely we use this IPAM a lot, so we could leverage this for other purposes. Just take out parts and pieces, maybe add some other components to it.
That's cool. Yeah, that's when you start to see a whole bunch of new applications in your real world and in your work. Yeah, so that's nice. To go back on the Postman, so if you want to download the Mist collection for yourself,
can I show your screen?
Yeah, you can show my screen now.
Right.
I closed down my bank account and all of that. So if you go to explore.postman.com, here you can just search Mist, and you should be able to find it, Mist system, and then you should have a link to actually download it or install it, open it with Postman. It doesn't work for me right now, but hopefully it works for you guys.
Back to you.
Yeah. Anyway, it's under the networking section. You have other ones. The Cisco Meraki one is pretty popular as well. If you guys, you should have something like that run in Postman.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why the Mist one doesn't work right now, but you guys can try it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That is pretty much it. And this is a dual YouTube live and also a podcast recording. So if you want to listen to this again, we will post this as an audio only episode with a link back to the video in the show notes. And we'll update everything with the links that we've mentioned here and any other resources that would be useful for you guys.
Yeah.
We want to thank you.
It's better in video though.
It's better in video because we show a lot of things, but we tried our best to describe it. But we do want to thank you guys for joining us here for Coffee Hour with Clear to Send. If you do like videos like this, hit the like button and subscribe, and you'll get notified when we do go live again. But thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.